Today we're going to announce the winner of this channel's very first giveaway. Hey there, and welcome to Large Format Friday. I'm your host, Matt Marrash. If this is the first time you're stopping by the channel, here's a playlist of our entire second season of LFF. And if you haven't subscribed yet, each and every Friday, we're going to be here chatting about something large format photography. Admittedly, this week, time got the best of me. I went in for a heavy dental procedure and I thought I was only going to be out of commission for a few hours, but it took out the entire free day that I had. Finding myself strapped for time, I wanted to show you some work that I have been doing on and off lately in the form of some paper negatives. I've really been enjoying the process of making paper negatives because it's easy to do. We can just take a piece of black and white darkroom paper, load it into our film holders. A lot of 8x10 RC paper lays very flat and it'll slide right into the holders. Just like using X-ray film, we can do it with a safe light on, but instead of needing a very weak red safe light like X-ray film, we can use an orange safe light and it's really bright. We can watch the whole thing happen. If you need to test out old film holders, load paper in there. It's going to be a lot cheaper than worrying about using expensive film, and you'll still find out if there's light leaks. You just might have to wait longer. One of the only tricky things when working with paper negatives is contrast control. Since we're working with orthochromatic materials, materials that can't see red light, they can only see a combination of blue and green light, how do we kind of get a more like normal look out of those papers? Well, there's two ways we can do it. In last week's video with the paint can pinhole, I ended up pre-flashing the paper, and that's by giving it a small amount of exposure to bring the shadows up to the point where they're going to print, also known as threshold. Another way that you can do it, if you have forgotten to pre-flash or you don't have access to an enlarger, you can also just filter in camera. And a way that you can filter in camera is by using a yellow filter. You can use something like this K2 filter or a number 15, which is a really heavy yellow filter, a deep yellow filter. This will get rid of absolutely all blue and leave you with only green light. Or you can use a slightly weaker yellow filter. This almost has like a yellow greenish tint, and this will get rid of most of the cyan, but not all of your blue. What that's going to do is it's going to give you a little bit more separation on a blue sky cloudy day. If you were just using the paper as is, without a filter, you might start to get like a blown out sky. If it's a cloudy day, forget it. It's not going to help too much. The day I went out and did these paper negatives, it was super cloudy, so my sky ended up going completely white. But if I shot something like this red brick house, you can see it got very, very, very thin. So the areas that are white are like the transparent areas on a negative, and those will print very, very dark. I went hiking with a fellow YouTuber, Mr. Eric Flynn. We walked the Scioto Mile, socially distanced of course, and had a fun time. We talked about film photography, a little bit about large format, and yeah, it was a pretty good time. I got out with the 8x10, took a few shots of the Scioto Mile. This is down near where I did the 8x20 episode earlier in the summer. And I even got a portrait of the man himself. So there's Mr. Eric Flynn. It was a fun time. One thing I love, again, about paper negatives, it's so simple and the turnaround's very quick because paper has a relatively thin emulsion on it and it develops out very, very quickly. I can just throw in some Dectol in the trays. 2 minutes later, I have a negative and I can do some really cool things with it. I can scan it, I can print from it and do contact prints. Paper, one of the only downsides to it is the emulsion is not like a film emulsion, and you're going to run into issues if you try to enlarge it. It could get gritty and grainy and it might not look good. But if you want to get something bigger than the original size, you could scan it and go with those results. So yeah, just been plugging away with different processes. I'm still playing around with all sorts of different things with paper negatives, the RA4 reversal process, just anything to kind of change it up. I need these extra little things to kind of force some creativity. One cool thing about large format is the limitations of the camera, the limitations of the speed that you can work in. And if you force even more limitations by playing with funky processes like these, it kind of helps you start problem solving. Like you're creating all these problems for yourself to solve with the camera. Anyway, enough chat about that. You're here to see who won the camera. And I'm so happy to say that the camera is definitely going to someone that's going to use it. But before we get there, I need to give credit where credit's due. Thank you so much to Ben over in the UK for even coming up with this idea. He shot me a message early on in the channel and said, hey, I want to send you a camera. Whoa, that's awesome. When I finally got the camera, I decided to add a few other things to make it a complete kit, but without Ben's incredible generosity, this entire giveaway wouldn't have happened. And thanks to some of the other vendors that kind of chimed in and said, hey, can I add something to the giveaway? So we ended up having a pretty killer starter kit. The lucky winner ended up with an Intrepid 4x5, a Schneider 90mm Angulon, the classic f6.8 version, a Darkcloth, a changing bag, 3 4x5 film holders, some goodies from Shoot Film Co., and as an added bonus, I noticed that this particular winner said they were interested in shooting wet plates. Well, I just happened to have an extra 4x5 plate holder, custom made by 20th Century Cameras. So thanks again, Jeff, for adding that into the giveaway. This was a total kit. I think the only thing I didn't give away with it was a tripod and a bag, but hopefully if you've been into photography, you've got some of those by now. So without further ado, the winner of this first LFF giveaway is Wenzdai. Wenzdai is a large format shooter. She does some really awesome wet plate work. I'm going to roll some of those by. And if you want to check out her website and some more of what she does, I'm going to put a link to her website down below. Wenzdai, if you're watching this, congrats. I'm so happy you ended up with the camera. It's going to be at your doorstep sometime early next week, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, if you entered the contest, if you were one of the 600 folks that entered this giveaway and didn't win, don't worry, there's definitely going to be stuff like this in the future. You know, really 1 in 600, that's not too bad odds compared to some of the bigger giveaways that I've been seeing. But there's going to be giveaways in the future. I already have folks asking me about when the next thing is and some vendors saying, hey, when's the next thing? So there's definitely going to be something here on the channel. If you have any questions regarding anything large format photography, you can always feel free to shoot me an email, largeformatquestions@gmail.com. Thanks again for stopping by, and we'll catch you next week for more LFF.